On November 19, 2025, the Supreme Court delivered a seismic 6-3 ruling that sent shockwaves through the legal and political landscape of the United States. In a decision that will be studied for years to come, the court struck down both federal and state bans on firearm suppressors, declaring them unconstitutional under the Second Amendment's right to keep and bear arms. This landmark decision instantly invalidated restrictive laws in numerous states, opening the door for millions of law-abiding gun owners to legally purchase and possess suppressors for the very first time. Gun shops across the country saw a surge in interest, with many owners eager to explore the newly available accessories. Gun rights advocates erupted in celebration, hailing the ruling as the most significant Second Amendment victory since the landmark Bruen case. Many described it as a long-overdue correction to what they saw as decades of government overreach. On the other side, gun control supporters voiced deep concern, warning that the decision could put communities at risk and make it harder for law enforcement to respond to gun crimes. Some officials predicted an increase in public safety challenges and called for new legislative solutions. The case originated in the Fifth Circuit, where a challenge was brought against suppressor bans. At the heart of the case was a fundamental question. Are suppressors, devices designed to reduce the noise of gunfire, protected as arms under the Constitution? The Supreme Court's majority answered with a resounding yes, expanding the legal definition of protected firearm components and setting a new precedent for future cases. This historic ruling is the culmination of years of legal battles and advocacy, especially following the Bruen decision. Gun rights groups argued that suppressor bans had no basis in American history or tradition, and the court ultimately agreed. In this episode, we'll break down what suppressors are, explore the passionate arguments from both sides, analyze the court's reasoning, and discuss what this transformative decision could mean for the future of American gun laws and the ongoing debate over the Second Amendment. To truly grasp the impact of the recent Supreme Court ruling, it's important to first understand what a suppressor is, how it works, and what it doesn't do. Suppressors, sometimes called silencers, are often misunderstood both in movies and in public debate. The reality is far less dramatic than Hollywood would have you believe. Despite the nickname silencer, suppressors don't make guns silent. Instead, they reduce the noise of a gunshot by about 20 to 35 decibels, roughly the difference between a jackhammer and a motorcycle. The sound is still extremely loud, often comparable to a rock concert or a jet engine at takeoff, and is easily heard from a distance. The main purpose of a suppressor is hearing protection. Unsuppressed gunfire can cause instant permanent hearing loss, even with just a single shot. Suppressors help reduce this risk, but most shooters still use earplugs or earmuffs for added safety. For people who shoot regularly, the cumulative effect of loud gunfire can be devastating to their hearing over time. Many hunters and shooting instructors consider suppressors essential safety equipment, especially when shooting outdoors or in groups. Even the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, has acknowledged their value in preventing hearing damage. In some countries, using a suppressor is actually encouraged or even required for public health reasons. Suppressors also help reduce recoil and muzzle rise, making firearms easier to control and improving accuracy. This is especially helpful for new shooters, young people, or those with physical limitations, as it allows them to shoot more comfortably and safely. Legally, suppressors have been tightly regulated in the United States since 1934. To own one, you must pass a federal background check, register the device, and pay a $200 tax. The process can take months, and every transfer is tracked by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or ATF. Despite these strict federal rules, 8 states had outright bans on civilian suppressor ownership. These bans became the focal point of the Supreme Court case, as advocates argued that the patchwork of state laws was confusing and unfair. The Supreme Court's decision now opens access to suppressors nationwide, ending decades of conflicting laws and regulations. For many, this marks a significant shift in how suppressors are viewed, not as tools for crime, but as important safety devices for responsible gun owners. The fight over suppressors was a strategic, years-long campaign, gaining momentum after the Supreme Court's Bruen decision in 2022. Bruen established that gun laws must align with the nation's historical tradition, giving gun rights advocates a new tool to challenge modern regulations. A pivotal case, United States versus Peterson, saw the Department of Justice reverse its stance, admitting that total suppressor bans likely violated the Constitution. This shift created a split among federal courts, prompting the Supreme Court to step in and resolve the issue. Advocacy groups filed lawsuits featuring plaintiffs like a disabled Marine veteran who needed a suppressor for hearing protection. They argued suppressors are common, lawful tools, not dangerous, unusual weapons. The Supreme Court ultimately consolidated these arguments, leading to its historic decision. Suppressor advocates focused on health and safety, reframing suppressors as practical safety equipment rather than sinister tools. They highlighted that a single gunshot can cause irreversible hearing loss, and that suppressors are widely used for lawful purposes like hunting and sport shooting. Public health organizations, including the CDC, have acknowledged suppressors' role in reducing noise-induced hearing loss. In Europe, suppressors are often lightly regulated or even mandatory for hunting, further supporting their safety benefits. With over 4.5 million suppressors legally registered in the US, advocates argued they're neither rare nor unusual. They also emphasized self-defense. A suppressed firearm, in a home defense scenario, protects hearing and allows for better communication and situational awareness. For supporters, suppressors are vital for exercising the core right of self-defense. Gun control advocates and law enforcement leaders warned that easier access to suppressors could threaten public safety. They argued suppressors might help criminals avoid detection, making it harder for police and the public to respond to gunfire. Opponents pointed to media portrayals and urban noise, fearing suppressed gunshots could be mistaken for everyday sounds, delaying emergency response. They also challenged the claim that suppressors are rarely used in crime, arguing that strict regulations have kept misuse low, and that loosening them could change that. Ultimately, they saw suppressors as unnecessary risks, with earplugs and earmuffs providing adequate hearing protection without the dangers. The Supreme Court's majority opinion applied the Bruin text, history, and tradition test, concluding that suppressors are protected arms under the Second Amendment. The court reasoned that suppressors, as integral firearm accessories designed for safety and effectiveness, fall within constitutional protection. The majority dismissed arguments that suppressors are dangerous and unusual, noting millions are in lawful use and rarely involved in crime. The government failed to provide historical precedent for banning safety devices like suppressors. The dissenting justices warned the ruling dangerously expanded gun rights, arguing suppressors are accessories that make firearms more deadly and harder to detect. They accused the majority of ignoring real-world consequences and undermining public safety. The decision marks a major expansion of Second Amendment protections, with far-reaching implications. The Supreme Court's decision sparked immediate polarized reactions nationwide. Gun owners and advocacy groups celebrated, calling it a victory for hearing safety and constitutional rights, while gun stores saw a surge in demand. Advocacy groups vowed to use the precedent to challenge other firearm restrictions, seeing the ruling as a powerful affirmation of their cause. Meanwhile, gun control advocates and city leaders condemned the decision, warning it would endanger police and the public. Protests erupted outside the Supreme Court and in major cities, with activists pledging to fight for new legislation and focus on state-level gun safety measures. The ruling deepened the national divide over gun rights, energizing both sides for future battles. The aftermath was not resolution, but a sharpening of America's gun debate. The Supreme Court's decision on suppressors marks a pivotal moment in the ongoing debate over gun rights and regulation in America. This ruling is not just about one accessory. It's a signal that the highest court is willing to reinterpret the boundaries of the Second Amendment in ways that could reshape the legal landscape for years to come. It signals a dramatic shift in how all gun laws will be judged in the U.S., setting a new standard for courts to follow when evaluating restrictions on firearms and related equipment. The immediate effect is clear. Suppressor bans in 8 states are now void, and those states must quickly adapt to the new legal reality. For gun owners in those regions, this means access to suppressors is now protected under federal law. This creates a uniform national standard for suppressor ownership, eliminating the patchwork of state laws that previously caused confusion and legal uncertainty for both buyers and sellers. More broadly, The ruling sets a powerful precedent for challenging other gun regulations, opening the door for future lawsuits that could target restrictions on magazines, types of firearms, and even background check requirements. This includes bans on certain weapons and accessories, which may now face heightened scrutiny in the courts as advocates push for expanded rights. Lawmakers supporting gun control must now prove that any new regulations are deeply rooted in American history and tradition, a much higher bar than before, and one that could limit the scope of future legislation. As a result, the focus may shift to laws with stronger historical backing, such as red flag laws or safe storage requirements, which have clearer precedents in American legal tradition. The decision cements a new era of expansive Second Amendment rights, reinforcing the idea that gun ownership is not just a privilege, but a fundamental liberty protected by the Constitution. For millions of Americans, this means their right to own and use firearms is more secure than ever before, and future attempts to restrict those rights will face significant legal hurdles. On November 19, 2025, the Supreme Court's decision sent shockwaves through the legal and political landscape. The justices didn't just decide on suppressors, they redefined the framework for evaluating all gun laws in America, leaving lower courts and lawmakers to navigate this new terrain. As the country moves forward, one thing is certain: the path for American gun laws is now more uncertain and more contested than ever before.